For practicing in TypeScript the kind of coding and algorithms questions one might get in an interview, I've repurposed my Advent of Code 2020 solutions repository. I've added some documentation that will be helpful, and I'm also adding this video, but the documentation, and you'll find the link in the description of this video, is the main place that you should be looking. This is just a supplementary piece of material for people who like to see someone else doing it. I am going to start out by following the instructions in the top level README to get the tests running. It's using an old version of Node because this is from 2020. And when you run npm install, you'll see a message about vulnerabilities. Not surprising, there have been some that have come up since 2020, but these are ones that would matter if you were putting this software out on the internet, potentially. But for running programs on your own computer, you don't need to worry about it at all. And let's get the tests started. No tests found related to files changed since the last commit. Well, let's go ahead and make some changes. And if you haven't read the documentation, you're going to be missing a lot of context. Go to that link in the description. Otherwise, you will not know what I'm doing here. I am about to, as the documentation says, leave the return false thing there because it's needed for the advanced part of the day one question. But we're focusing mainly on the basic one of finding two numbers in this expense report that add up to a desired sum called 2020. Or that happens to be 2020 in the first part. So this is the naive way of finding it. We loop through all of the entries, and then for each one we again loop through all of the entries. So we're going to look for the one we hope that exists that adds up to the desired sum. And then we return their product, which is what the Advent of Code website wants in order to give you credit for correctly answering the question. So let's go back to the shell. And we see that it has in fact passed, so this solution worked. If we did something wrong in here, in here, we would see a failure. And then we fix the failure, and we see success again. Okay, so now let's code up the less naive solution, a more efficient one. Let's create a set that includes all the entries, making it easy to find if the set has an item, making it very efficient. Now we do a single loop through all the entries. And if the number that we want in order to add up to the desired sum is in that set, we'll go ahead and return the product and answer the question correctly. Let's see if the tests still pass. And they do still pass, so that worked. And you'll see in the documentation there's a way to make this one twice as efficient as what you see here, because right now it takes two passes through, the one obvious one that you see here, and then there's a pass through entries to construct the set. But you can do it in just one. I will leave that as an exercise to the reader.